Oh man, that's great. What's up, everybody? All right, the Raw review. It's Raw review time. It's January 21st. It is the year 2019, and let me tell you something about 2019, brothers. I was playing around, man. I'm solo tonight. My name is Jay Alletto. I'm the owner of PWPNation.com, and you're at the PWP Nation YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, please give us an opportunity to earn your subscription. So watch through this. I'll entertain you. I hope to entertain you anyway. I'm going to try my best. I'm a little bit lit tonight after sitting through that episode of Monday Night Raw for 3 hours. And look, guys, I love WWE. I'm a fan for life. And but the fact of the matter is, that guy over my shoulder, that's the devil right there, man. And he, the kind of booking that we see on this show baffles my mind. I'm solo this week. Aaron will be back next week. He's a little bit under the weather, and that sucks. It sucks here in the Northeast. A lot of people are getting sick. Fucking bull shit cold today, guys. Crazy cold. It felt like -10 at the shore today. It was terrible. So we're gonna go through Monday Night Raw like we usually do. I'm gonna make this an abbreviated version, a quick version, because I'm riding solo. If you're coming to the chat, please give me your comments, your questions, anything to help me get through this right here tonight. It's all about content. We're not fancy here at PWP Nation. First things first, we start the show off with a brilliant promo from Paul Heyman. What else is new, guys? This falls right in line with everything else he's ever done in his career as far as promos are concerned. Cut an awesome promo, got the ball rolling. Great to see Vince McMahon interact with Paul Heyman again. Every time they get together, I just enjoy it. It brings me back to the past, the good old days, man, the Attitude Era, the time when things were just a little bit better, a little more simple. They've had some awesome interactions, and this one was pretty damn good too. So I really enjoyed Vince McMahon interacting with Paul Heyman. That's definitely a plus. To see Braun Strowman get back involved in this angle, personally, I was a little bit surprised right here to see him go in there and face to face with Brock Lesnar. However, man, we just saw what WWE thinks of Strowman tonight, and he's lost right now. He's a lost soul. He almost laid down for Balor tonight, and that's another thing we got to talk about: the whole David and Goliath dynamic. What's going to happen there with Balor and Lesnar at Royal Rumble? Finn Balor. There's a few things I could talk about with Finn Balor. The first things first, we need the demon gimmick. We need it. We haven't had it in a long time. It adds a lot to his character, and I think it's going to happen. I think they're ready for it. It's a stadium atmosphere at the Royal Rumble, Phoenix, Arizona. It's going to be big. It's going to be big. So if they don't bring the demon, I will be surprised. I think he needs it at this stage of his career. Absolutely surprised that Finn Balor looked as good as he did tonight against Brock Lesnar and against Braun Strowman in that environment, but I think he might have needed that. I think that was a necessary step towards this match with Brock Lesnar. He needed to look a little bit dominant for being such a small guy. I did love how Vince McMahon really went deep with the whole, you're just a small guy, you're David, you don't stand a chance, man. So, as much as I like this opening segment, Brock Lesnar still stands tall at the end of it, which wasn't a surprise. I'm going to kill that like, not really feeling it. Wasn't a surprise. So, Brock Lesnar stands tall, goes into Royal Rumble, where I personally believe he will continue his run as Universal Champion. But Finn Balor, man, he's over. There's no doubt about that. He is over as hell right now, and he's proving it. Every time he goes out there, his crowd response is getting just a little bit bigger. They're starting to feel him a little more. Each and every time he goes out there, he's starting to get a little bit of a better reaction. So that tips that kind of ends that segment for me. But I got to tell you something. I was ribbing on Twitter all night at PWP Nation, guys. I had some brilliant tweets, and I'm going to read some of them for you because I thought this one, it took the cake for me, my personal opinion. I'm going to pull it up right here. So Vince McMahon cracks me up. Bobby Lashley comes out in the next segment. Intercontinental champion. Lio Rush is with him. They're ready to rock and roll, man. They're ready to take off as the new Intercontinental champion. But what do we get? What do we get? We get a pose down. We get a pose down, a good old-fashioned Vince McMahon pose down. You know how he loves those pose downs. We've seen a couple in the past, guys. I think it was Royal Rumble, one of the original Rumbles. I want to say it was 89, probably, right before the big WrestleMania clash between the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude. At the Royal Rumble in 1989, they had a pose down. And it was cool, man. I think if I recall, Ravishing Rude had this device that he would just kind of put together like this, just push his hands together with to like pump him up. And he ended up cracking Warrior over the head with it, and it caused this big melee. And it built towards their match at WrestleMania. It had meaning. You felt something with it. The second pose down I can remember in WWE history, there was probably more than this, but the second one I remember was Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, and Triple H, and I guess it was 2003? Excuse me. I want to say it was like 2003. And Triple H and Scott Steiner, and I tweeted out this picture too. They were just jacked and tan, looking huge. And it built to their match, I believe, at the Royal Rumble or No Way Out. One of those two pay-per-views. I can't remember exactly which one. I think it was Rumble, though. Built to that match. That match wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but it built towards something. Now, this one, on Martin Luther King Day, the day that we all remember one of the greatest minds and leaders in the history of America, in the history of the fucking world. Okay, Martin Luther King Jr. Vince McMahon pulls this crazy pose down that's right out of the Vince McMahon playbook between Apollo Crews and Bobby Lashley. I'm not saying it's a black thing. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, look at this guy. Look at this guy with those devil horns on his head. Okay, I'm saying it might be his little way of doing like making himself laugh, like entertaining himself. That might be what we're getting from Vince here. I tweeted something along the lines of, I still prefer this pose down instead. You might not be able to see it, but that's Steiner and Triple H from 2003. And my buddy Aaron, who is not with us tonight, get well soon, brother. He writes a pose off, also known as Vince McMahon's wet dreams. And that's fucking hilarious. So that sums that up for me, man. Apollo Crews stood no chance in a match with Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley goes over strong and retains the Intercontinental Championship. But what's going to happen here? I think the title is basically on hold until after Royal Rumble because Ambrose, Lashley, Rollins, all three of them need to focus on the Royal Rumble match, just as the storyline should be. The Intercontinental Championship, it can afford to take a powder at the Royal Rumble event if you have something in mind for it and its future. And in my mind, the end game is Kevin Owens. When Kevin Owens returns, Bobby Lashley will hopefully have some momentum as the IC champion, and Kevin Owens can return and take that belt from him. Kevin Owens is going to come back as a monster babyface, guaranteed. I hope they don't put him back and typecast him back into his previous role. I want to see a different version of KO. We've seen it in Ring of Honor. We've seen it on the Indies. The guy's personality is gigantic. He could do it any which way, and I think this is where the IC title is going. So Dean Ambrose doesn't need it. We were talking about it in our PWP Nation private chat, which is it's gold in there, man. I wish a lot of you guys could see that stuff live as we do it. I'm trying to work it into Twitter, but it's tough to get everybody on the same page. In that chat, it's so organic that the stuff kind of just rolls off. Toph mentioned earlier tonight that Dean Ambrose, he really doesn't do anything for championships that he has. Like, what did he really do for the WWE Championship? Yeah, he had a decent run on SmackDown Live when he got drafted as champion. It was okay. But you had James Ellsworth. You had a lot of like weirdness going on in that run. There's just strange stuff going on. So I'm not sure Dean Ambrose really needs a title. He's kind of like a Rowdy Roddy Piper type guy. I don't want to put him necessarily in that category, but he's in the same type of bracket, I would say, if you're going to give me like different characters that don't need title belts. Jake the Snake never needed one. Brian Pillman, although he won some, he never needed one. You know what I mean? Like these are the type of guys that just don't need titles. And I think Ambrose is good. Toph doesn't think he's good, but I think he's good. He just doesn't need a title. This kind of transitioned into Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. And we had the stereotypical Seth Rollins babyface promo as of late. I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. How am I going to do it? I don't know. I'm awesome, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing from Rollins. I love the guy. I think he's fantastic, as you might know. But man, it's the same thing. Okay, he's cutting the same promo. It's right out of the John Cena playbook, and I'm going to use the playbook analogy again. They're trying to make him kind of like a John Cena type babyface, like a last man standing type guy, like a never quit type guy. That's what they're trying to turn Seth Rollins into. I still think he should be the architect. I still think he should be doing things that are kind of sleazy from time to time because he'll do whatever it takes to win. There are different ways that Seth Rollins' character can develop. But right now, they like the clean cut baby face. And if that's their way of doing it, man, I don't really have that big of a problem with it. I just think it could be much bigger than it is, you know. So where are we at now? We're at Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre again says, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. I don't think he's winning. I don't think we're ready for him yet. Okay. In the main event, in the world title picture. That's just my belief. I don't think the WWE universe as a whole is ready for it yet. We need to see some marquee victories on pay-per-view from Drew McIntyre before he gets that spot. If he gets this spot, if he wins the Royal Rumble and goes on to WrestleMania, he's Sheamus. He's Sheamus. And we all know where Sheamus ended up, okay? He ended up in a tag team with Cesaro after wrestling Cesaro for what seemed like months. Okay, that's where he ended up. He, of course, a great career, not taking anything away from Sheamus. But you have a special talent in Drew McIntyre. They knew he was special when he came in to the company from developmental. They knew they had something with this guy. They knew the potential was there. And now he's almost to that point where that potential is going to pay off. But why rush it? Okay, why rush it? He hasn't even been on the main roster for a year since his return. Give it some time. Drew McIntyre will get there, but give it a little bit of time here. I don't think he's ready for a Royal Rumble win. Great match. Seth Rollins picks up a clean win. Nothing really huge here. We did see a Dean Ambrose promo. He had maybe the line of the night on Monday Night Raw. He said, what did he say? I'm going to find it because I quoted it. He wrote, bend over. He called Bobby Lashley Bend Over Bobby. Bend Over Bobby. That's a perfect name for the guy. He's literally been bending over on Raw almost every other week. I think for multiple weeks at a time. He just bent over and showed us his ass. Like that might be the best nickname that I've heard on Monday Night Raw in a long time. Man, we had EC3 again with these vignettes, the same vignette, man, over and over again. EC3 with the same exact vignette. He did nothing. He didn't say any words. Pointless backstage segment with Dana Brooke. Man, it's tough to see EC3 go through this right now because he just seems like he's on his way to obscurity. However, you know, Vince McMahon loves these type of guys. I wrote on Twitter earlier tonight at PWP Nation, I wrote, this is EC3's punishment for getting himself over in TNA. Is it? It might be. I don't know, man. I think it's possible, though. All right. Let's keep the show rolling. What else we got here? Lucha House Party, Singh Brothers and Jinder Mahal. You know, there's nothing to talk about there, guys. The Revival complaining to Vince. This can go one of two ways for the Revival. Let's talk about this right now. We saw the Revival have a decent match tonight. Excuse me on the water. A little bit parched. We saw the Revival have a decent match tonight with Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. However, it was full of just nonsense. Ballyhoo and tomfoolery. Full of tomfoolery. Okay? Weird cheating tactics, Kurt Hawkins. Listen, at the end of the day, the way this played out made perfect sense for this episode of Raw. All right, we get Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins officially together as a tag team once again. They have the YouTube show. It makes sense. It makes sense. It shouldn't have even been something that was new and different. And Zack Ryder was a little bit apprehensive or something. Kurt Hawkins looked apprehensive. It was kind of a weird dynamic. They should have just celebrated together right away. Like, yo, man, thanks or something. But it was cool nonetheless. But the Revival once again gets screwed out of a tag team championship match. Bobby Roode, Chad Gable retained. Decent match overall. But this can go one of two ways for the Revival. Now, we know they've been in the news recently. They have been in the news because they apparently had requested the release, asked questions about a possible release. Maybe their contract date is coming up. Lots of different speculation revolving around the Revival. And the end of the story was the Revival now have a feud. They're out of the tag team title picture. That's it. Their next match is going to be with Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Kurt Hawkins has lost his last 250 matches or something, or 300 matches or 600 matches. He's 0 whatever right now. So this can go one of two ways. Will this streak end at the hands of the Revival? Will Kurt Hawkins pick up his first win on Raw in however many years against the Revival? Ask yourself that question, because that's what I'm asking myself right now. And I think it could go one of two ways. It's either going to go the way of the Revival, where they beat the shit out of Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. They're just another stepping stone on their way back to the top. Or Kurt Hawkins gets his win. I'm leaning towards Kurt Hawkins getting his win. They've been mentioning it a lot lately. He went up to Vince. He had a backstage storyline with Vince. That was just a brief little segment, but at least it was something. Elias and Baron Corbin, nothing new here. Baron Corbin picks up a win after trash talk. Listen, the fans are against Baron Corbin. The fans actually don't want to see Baron Corbin. They don't like Baron Corbin. All right. A lot of those terrible Raws, you think Baron Corbin. We had weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of terrible Raws. And don't get me wrong, this one wasn't that much better. But Baron Corbin just seems to coincide with those. So Baron Corbin picks up the win, a little bit of momentum boost for him heading into the Royal Rumble, where I'm sure he'll have like some kind of angle in that match. Something will happen. I'm going to guess Braun Strowman gets his hands on him some way, shape, or form. And that's my take on Braun Strowman is, guys, I was going to say this, but I forgot for a minute. Let me go back here. Lucha House Party match with Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers. I was saying it on Twitter. There's no reason Braun Strowman shouldn't have come out during this match and destroyed all six of those guys. Destroyed all six. Maybe Jinder, the last one standing, he gets some offense in, and Braun Strowman kills him too and declares he's going to win the Royal Rumble. Because, guys, he looked so weak tonight. This is weeks now. This is week after week after week of Braun Strowman looking like an idiot and just somebody who's not credible. They have a lot of building up to do with Braun Strowman, man. They have sacrificed him. They have turned him heel and babyface and back again. So he's got some rehab. And I think he's going to be in the Royal Rumble and have a hell of a showing, and he'll probably get his hands on Baron Corbin. Mark my words on that. Elias has nothing going on. And now we come to a moment of bliss, which was absolutely horrible until Alexa Bliss made her announcement that she's going to be returning to the ring at the Royal Rumble in the match. Good to see that happening, man. A lot of people give Alexa Bliss shit because she's not great in the ring. Oh, her work rate isn't good, man. What was the last thing she's done in the ring, man? Everybody's going crazy. I saw this on Twitter. Everyone's going nuts. Everyone's cheering, but like she's never done anything in the ring, bro. Dude, at the end of the day, Alexa Bliss is an athlete on the WWE roster, okay? She's one of the most popular stars on the roster. I have never even been a gigantic Alexa Bliss fan, but I understand the dynamic here, okay? Alexa Bliss, if you look at WWE memorabilia on apps like Amazon and eBay, she is one of, if not the hottest star in the memorabilia lines. People love Alexa Bliss. Her merchandise sells, okay? They turned her babyface tonight. Undoubtedly with the debut, not really the debut, but the in front of the live crowd debut of Lacey Evans. Listen, you can say what you want about Lacey Evans. She's not awesome in the ring. She's a great athlete, not amazing in the ring, though. However, here's the thing about Lacey. Her character is ready for the main roster. She has a character, and that's important. And she pulls off that character. I did fucking laugh my ass off, and I know I shouldn't use profanity on YouTube. I get it. But I laughed my ass off when she knocked her own hat into her eyes just like that, man. Just like that. Dude, she did one of those. It was crazy. That was kind of a little botch, but she was excited. The rest of this segment was god awful. It was just the women on the roster declaring. Why Alexa Bliss had to say all their names is beyond me. Why she had to say every single one of their names is absolutely fucking terrible. Oh, but we know who they all are. We get it. Heavy Machinery debuts against the Ascension. Look, Heavy Machinery is entertaining, but they're no way Jose entertaining, man. They're not going to be a big deal. I think at the end of the day, they somehow need to be taken seriously, and that's the only way they're going to get over. They're going to be a comedy relief act. They're Jesse and Festus or something. They're one of those type of characters right now. All right, we already talked about the tag team title match. Guys, I'm going to breeze through the rest of this. Ronda Rousey backstage promo. Oh, God. This promo I paid attention to very closely. And I did that for a specific reason. The reason is because I am intrigued by Ronda Rousey's character. I am paying attention to the subtleties in what she does because I think she's getting some very good advice backstage from guys like Paul Heyman. And at times, she looks brilliant on the microphone. At times, she looks like she's not green as grass with the stick. But tonight, she fumbled and bumbled through that thing. It started out like very like she was kind of this wishy-washy, didn't know what she was talking about, wasn't sure type of girl. But it ended with this fiery badass, and that's who we always want. All right, I understand the art of the promo. I love wrestling promos, man. On my old radio show here, you can find them on blogtalkradio.com/PWPNation. I did a couple of these segments where I would break down promos, and Jake the Snake Roberts was one of them that we did. And Jake the Snake had this awesome way of having his pitch go really down, man, and talk kind of like this, very slow. And then he would bring it up. Randy Savage did that stuff too. And Ronda Rousey, if she's trying to pull that off, she's not quite there yet, but she's getting there. Okay, she's making more sense in her promos from time to time, but tonight didn't make a lot of sense. Tonight was strange. It should have been fired up from the get-go. It felt like Ronda Rousey was having a conversation with herself out loud, and she figured out where she was trying to go when she finally got there. If that makes any sense. This led into the match. Sasha Banks did very well on the microphone. She knows how to cut a WWE promo. The thing about Sasha Banks, and I've always been a gigantic fan, I'm a fucking mark for Sasha Banks. That's the truth. Sasha Banks knows her character inside out. Some would say she is her character at certain times in real life as well. That in this case, art imitates reality in some way, shape, or form. But she's probably a really sweet girl in real life, and I don't want to say that she's this bossy type of character all the time. But I've heard things, and I think a lot of us have. If we're watching this video, you're probably in on the whole internet wrestling community. But Sasha Banks cut a good promo. She knows her character. She knows what to do. She got under Ronda Rousey's skin, and that's been known to affect Rousey in the MMA cage. That's kind of what happened to her when she was on her downfall with Holly Holm and all that stuff. So this makes sense. It was a good storyline. I like it. The match was pretty good. A couple of miscues in it. Ronda Rousey had a miscue, a timing problem with Bayley at one point. Not sure even what they were really going for there, but Bayley kind of saved it by dragging Ronda to the corner. Wasn't too bad. Sasha Banks picks up the win. Some momentum heading into the Royal Rumble, which leads me to believe that, and it's obvious, I think Ronda Rousey's odds of winning this match are probably like 95%. I think there's that small chance that Becky Lynch gets involved and screws over Rousey or Charlotte or something, but I doubt it. Very highly unlikely at this stage of the game. I see Ronda Rousey picking up a clean win over Sasha Banks at the Royal Rumble. And we end with Sasha and Bayley celebrating and kind of a face-to-face with Ronda and Sasha Banks. So that's Monday Night Raw, guys. Vote in our poll at PWP Nation on Twitter. And if you like this video, if you sat through this whole thing, thank you so much. Hit that like button. That helps us out so much with the algorithms and stuff. We're just building this YouTube channel. Very, very early stages, even though it's an old channel. We're just trying to build it back up with some consistency, some content. And I'm going to hopefully bring you the fire each and every week and improve. I'm going to get better at this, guys, with time. We're going to make this a more well-oiled machine as the weeks go on, but it's all about consistency. And you start with baby steps and you don't get fancy. So that's what we're doing right here, right now at PWP Nation. Also, check out the site, guys. PWPNation.com. Wrestling news all the time, constantly. We pick and choose the right news. Okay. A lot of people just will post anything, will make stuff up. We don't do that. I don't do that. I try not to do that. When we do that, because every once in a while, that's going to happen, we'll make a mistake and post something completely erroneous, completely fake. We will retract it publicly. I try to do that each and every time. So if we screw up in that respect. And that's about it, guys. If you like the video, again, hit that like button, press subscribe for more awesome content. And we have some great old content on the channel as well from back in the day. So thank you very much. This wraps up the Raw Review. I'm Jay Alletto. Follow me on Twitter at Jay Alletto. And once again, check us out, pwpnation.com. Peace.